Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. Joining me tonight is the Saj, Tony Libretto, who's been up on assignment up in Grand Rapids today. So he's hanging out along with some people trying to catch up with us right now. I get a lot of you tuning in right here and now, want to get into some breaking news that's coming across. I want to thank Micro Mike, Lions Nation Unite, everybody who's helped pump this. But here it is. So real quick, some of you know, some of you don't know. I see it in the comments that some of you know who I am. I've been a coach, general manager, stuff like that at various different levels, college, professionally, etc., for, I don't know, 30 years. And I've been a sports reporter / editor for the Associated Press, Kalamazoo Gazette, other entities, since the late 80s. So because of that, you make friends in different spots. You get to know people. And as long as you don't upset your friends usually talk to you. So if you were watching the quick live chat I did this morning around when it was 7:30, I announced that I did hear some news pertaining to the Lions overnight. And then when I woke up around 5:30 this morning, I read into it more deeply. Some of the messages had been sent me. Obviously, I can't say who said what or anything. No journalist would live long in any business if they did that. But we're going to dive right into it because I know that's why you guys are here. And right off the bat, we are aware, just like you, everybody else, Brad Holmes never sleeps. This guy's always looking to improve the team. So one of the big news coming around is that Lions trading rumors. The Lions are actively working the phones to try to improve a couple key spots. Word is the Lions are working on improving the backup offensive line as far as the tackles. Sounds like Sorsdale, or however you pronounce his name. They feel good with him, glass out, etc. As far as interior offensive line. Backup, running back 3, which I think we all get. We didn't see anything in the last preseason game to make us think Craig Reynolds or other people weren't doing well. But the fact of the matter is, Lions brass feel like they want to try, if they can, to improve upon that. So they're also looking for other wide receiver options. I get that's why you're all here.
That's why I'm here.
We'll start off with it right here, Tone. I mean, the cat's out of the bag somewhat. There's been speculation for months about Mike Evans, that the Bucs might be trying to get rid of him, even Cooper Kupp. And I am hearing, as of late last night, early this morning, the Lions are indeed, and I have confirmed this in regards to Mike Evans from somebody with good knowledge of that situation. The Lions are talking to the Bucs about Mike Evans. The Bucs view their situation after watching the team this preseason, and they probably had a pretty good idea going into this, where the team ranked, how they're going to do, etc. But the fact is, they don't see Mike Evans benefiting them 3 to 4 years from now. So they understand his value is as good as it's ever going to be. Yeah. The word I'm getting is that the Bucs are hoping to get a second or third rounder for Mike Evans, along with maybe a couple other kick-ins here and there to sweeten the deal. The Lions, Brad Holmes, understands this. He understands the Bucs aren't just talking to Detroit; they're talking to other teams. Mm-hmm. So what has Brad Holmes shown over his time in Detroit? He's going to talk to everybody and people he believes in. So it sounds like he is leveraging that potential trade to Detroit with Mike Evans against the LA Rams and Cooper Kupp potentially coming to Detroit. Now, we do know the Rams tried to unload Matt Stafford about a month ago. He, didn't want to restructure his new contract, and I don't blame him. He understands this probably is going to be his last big payday. Yep. It is what it is. He's all in to get that money and that contract now to protect him and his family. But if you're Brad Holmes, you've got 2 teams on the line, 2 guys that are still in their prime as far as wide receivers. Mm-hmm. What do you think of all that's shaken out here between the reports that Cooper Kupp or Mike Evans potentially could be a Lion as early as Tuesday morning?
So here's the thing: they're different players. They're both elite, right? They're both all pros. They're both Pro Bowl players. Cooper Kupp was MVP, or not MVP, the Offensive Player of the Year just a couple of years ago. They've both battled through injuries in their career, so that's kind of a toss-up in that aspect. But I'm telling you, I don't know if we can give up enough for Cooper Kupp. I think we could give up less for Mike Evans, just because he's a few years older. But he's a huge wide receiver, where Cooper Kupp is more of the swifty, speed kind of guy. I would rather see Mike Evans, because I think he wouldn't cost as much, but he would definitely benefit us more in our game. We've already got some speed guys on the outside. I don't know if Cooper Kupp, he would be great. I'm not gonna, either one of them would be great to have on the team, but I feel like they would give up a lot more for Cooper Kupp, because he's younger, because of his style of play. Whereas Mike Evans, he's a little bit older. He's on a team that's not going anywhere this year, and I think he would be great in the red zone. He would be great. We lost JMO for 6 weeks. Everyone knows, or 6 games. Everyone knows that. So I think having someone like Mike Evans, we don't have a lot of we don't have wide receivers in the mold of Mike Evans, where we do have guys that are Cooper Kupp size and strength and speed and stuff like that. So having someone like Mike Evans would just add to the red zone, if anything else. If Mike Evans came to the team, obviously he'd be like wide receiver 1 or 2 next to, because St. Brown's not, him and St. Brown are not the same receiver. So obviously whether you say they're wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 or whatever, the slot guy. But Mike Evans, we don't really have a guy like Mike Evans on our team, where I think we do with Cooper Kupp. Again, not upset if we get either one of these guys. I'm just saying Mike Evans would probably be more beneficial for us now, and probably cheaper than Cooper Kupp would be.
And again, so let's start with this. Who I heard the information from about Kupp, I'm going to say this. It's the same person. If you remember, a year ago, I did a video about roughly a week before TJ Hockenson got traded. That was the same person who told me that was going to go down. It was coming down to some details with that. So I trust this particular individual immensely. The person in regards to Mike Evans, it's somebody who's been in the business longer than I have. So I'm going to say this. If they're hearing it and considering where their assignment is, they're close to the situation, I have no doubt there's legitimacy to both of these. It sounds like what it's going to come down to is, we get the Rams for a few years said, the heck with picks. We need players now. That situation has completely changed. Now they want some of those older players. As we've seen Ramsey gone, they're trying to get rid of Stafford. They're not done cleaning house, because they need a gluttony of young players to come in. I think it's going to come down to basically cost. And if it doesn't end up happening for the Lions, it does sound like these guys are probably closer to being out the door with their respective teams and sticking around, because you look at the Bucs, who's their quarterback? I get he's been around for a bit. The former Cleveland kid, I don't remember his name offhand, but it's just, I think the Bucs know they need to start thinking about the future, and the Rams are in the same boat. So I'm going to say this. I think both players would help the Lions a lot. J-Mo, say what you want. I think we all think he's going to be pretty good, and I do think he could be pretty good. Yeah. But I think there's enough of a question mark there. Every Lions fan right now sees where this team is. There's a lot of sound parts there. The NFC, really outside the top 2 teams, and I think we can all say that's Philly and the 49ers. You get past them, you're in the Super Bowl. And right now, win, lose, draw, or a hurricane takes out that Super Bowl site, every Lions fan would probably call that a win, just making it there this year. So I'm not going to say who's going to go where, but I think from what we're hearing, Brad Holmes is playing poker against these guys. It's whoever agrees to come down to his terms, what he's offering. And I do think from what I'm getting, the Rams want more like a first and something else to get Kupp, where the Bucs want more like a second and potentially a third to get, Evans. Evans got a few more years on him. Kupp, I think his frame, his body, he reminds me a lot of, I'm not saying he's Jerry Rice, but same type of person. Not inline speed, not game-changing speed, but he's so good at coming in and out of his routes. to get separation from defenders. He could play for a while, but you kind of already have that guy in St. Brown. Of course, you got two of them out there. I mean, good luck being the other defense. So,
right.
I think we all we'll wait and see what happens, but it does sound like this. This is just my opinion here from coaching. We all get the team's got to finalize the rosters by Tuesday. I think it's 4:30 p.m.
4 o'clock or 4:30, yeah.
Right around there, Eastern Standard Time. I'm Dan Campbell. I do not want somebody new coming in Wednesday, Thursday, especially somebody that I'm going to have some pressure on to get out on that field right away. Just because you want every bit of practice focused on Kansas City leading into that. And let's not forget, not only do we play the following week, but, it's a short week. So, I think if the Lions are going to pull the trigger on one of these two options, it's more or less got to be tomorrow or very early Tuesday. Yeah. Otherwise, really, whoever that player is, if they are gained by the Lions, isn't going to really have an impact until week 2 against Seattle. So that's just my feelings on that. But let's go on to the rest of this, because there is more trade rumors coming in. We got it with the receivers. And you and we talked about this when I first, caught wind of it about, 2 weeks ago. And it's been reported by other people. So I get the scuttles kind of already out there in the public eye. People are aware of it. But Chase Young, this is what I'm hearing. He's putting pressure on Washington. It's not so much Washington wanting to get rid of him, but Chase Young doesn't want to be there. He wants somewhere else. And it sounds like the bidding situation hasn't changed. Brad Holmes 2 weeks ago said he would give up a 5th-round pick and a player to gain Chase Young. The Redskins seem to be sticking to they want a 2nd or a 3rd-round pick for it. Mm-hmm. The problem is, if I'm Washington, you got a guy who, hey, I'm hurt, groin issue, whatever it may be. I don't really want to be on the field. Do you really want to keep this kid around? The thing, if I'm Brad Holmes, I have to decide is, do I want to move up from my desired offer of a 5th-round pick to get this guy? And I think we could all agree Brad Holmes has a history of saying, I'll put you on a prove-it deal. Chase Young says to Brad Holmes, Detroit, or his agent, whoever it may be, that he wants a restructured deal or a new deal before he comes to Detroit. It's probably not going to happen. But all that being said, Tone, what do you think about the potential of Chase Young lining up opposite of Hutchinson?
I mean, so part of me is like, oh, this would be great, because Chase Young was a stud in college, came out, NFL was great, all that stuff. Or, his rookie year, he did good things, and then he just hit the injury bug. And I think at this point, like, we're already, I think the Lions are already struggling with who they're going to cut as edge rushers. Like, Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, a couple of those guys, some of those guys aren't going to be on the team, and they're solid guys. I'm not saying Chase Young is solid. He might be more than solid, right? But we've got so many edge rushers now. Like Chase Young 2 years ago, great. I would have signed him, traded a 2nd-round pick. Let's go get him. But is he worth what we're going to have to pay for him as far as in terms of trade? Then our 2nd or 3rd best or 4th best pass rusher, edge rusher is going to be, because Charles Harris has had a hell of a camp this year. Like, he's back to the form he was he's only a couple years removed from leading this team in sacks.
Right.
And he had to deal with, him and Romeo Okwara both dealt with injury issues, but so was Chase Young. So, and I'm not comparing them to him. I'm just saying, do we need him? I struggle thinking that he's going to make this team that much better that we give up what we are going to have to give up to get him. When we have Pascal, we have the Okwara brothers, and one of them probably isn't going to make the team. We have Houston for situational rushing. And I'm not even mentioning Hutchinson. Like, we have enough guys on the edge that we already have to cut a good player. Giving up a lot for Chase Young is not worth it to me. And I could be wrong. He goes. I say that, and he's going to go to a team and get 12 sacks this year. Great for him. But I don't think we should give up anything. Right now, we have the nucleus of a championship team that we don't need that piece to make it over the top. Whereas we could use, we're going to use our draft capital. If we're going to trade for someone or sign someone, it's going to have to be a trade at this point. I would rather see a Mike Evans or a Cooper Kupp than I would a Chase Young. We're not going to get both. We can't do both, right? Like, we can't go out and get a Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp and then turn around and go get Chase Young.
So let me real quick, Tone, jump in there. So I know with the Chase Young commentary that we're talking about giving up 2025 draft capital. So I get the pushing out. My guess is it ultimately could be, and this is speculation on my part. I have not heard this part from anybody else, but it would be basically giving the pick from Swift that you got from Philly, giving it to Washington to basically move up. But that would be moving up to a third or whatever, where I get Detroit wants to try to keep it around the fifth. The Mike Evans commentary, I have no idea if it's a 2024, 5, 6, or 4050 draft pick.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess though, if I'm the Bucks, I want something this year or at the very least the following draft. Same with the Rams, because they're looking to improve their teams now. They're not worried about the future.
Yeah.
Washington, they might be forced into having to take a little further out draft capital, but keep going.
Let me go back to where I was.
Sorry,
I would rather Chase Young would be great to have. I'm not discounting his abilities, but I think we have a Chase Young on this team already. If that makes sense. Whether it's Okwara going back to his old form, whether it's Charles Harris, where's Josh Pascal? I've said this many times on our Sunday night shows. I love that guy, and I think he's going to be amazing on the other side of the ball. And he's not even going to be the starter because it looks like Charles Harris is going to be the starter on that side, opposite of Hutchinson. But I think Pascal is going to show why he was drafted in the second round last year, even though he was injured. So I think, I'm not on the Chase Young train at all. I'm not. I'd rather spend if we're going to trade for that one player that's going to make a difference this year that takes us to the next level. It's not going to be a Chase Young type guy at defensive end or edge, whatever you want to say. I think it's going to be on the offensive side.
I'm going to say this to everybody in the chat. Here'd be my take on if we do ultimately trade for one of the receivers. First, I saw somebody put in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up with both things at the same time.
And I can't see any of the chats because I'm on my phone tonight.
All right. So here's what I'm going to say. And I repeated it, or I said it earlier in the show, but I get some people are jumping to now. If these trades are going to happen, if I'm Brad Holmes, you do it when you can do it. If I'm Dan Campbell, the coach, I want these guys, if they're going to come in, either it's got to be Monday or Tuesday morning. They got to be on a flight here because I want X amount of practices with that dude on my team, learning my terminology, routes, whatever it may be, well before we ever go to Kansas City. Otherwise, if this thing goes down, say next weekend, that person's not playing in opening day against Kansas City.
Not on offense, especially.
Right, especially. There's just too much room for error on a route. And if you guys watched Lions Talk Live for a while, I did a breakdown on basically why I think TJ Hockenson was sent out of town. Him and Goff last year, we all know he had whatever it was, 6 picks or whatever. Well, 4 of them came on throws to Hockenson. So those two just could not get on the same page about routes, negotiating the route tree and stuff like that. That plus, I think Brad Holmes knew his contract demands in the future. So I reported it. You and I talked about it on a Sunday night, like a week before it went down, and what do you know, he was gone. So I think there is legitimacy to both of these rumors, but I do think if either one of those 2 receivers are going to come in and get big reps, they've got to be on the field for Detroit practicing Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
As far as Chase Young, I'm kind of with you. I think we've got a gluttony of good rushers. Pascal, in my opinion, I just don't think he's incredibly different than Chase Young. And then you've got enough guys coming off the edge, whether it be the Aquaras, Houston, whoever. I just don't see the real value unless you're just wanting more and more depth.
Yeah.
But you guys in the chat, you know the drill. If you got some questions, 9 drinks, hey, good to see you out there. Same with Silver Surfer and everybody else. Throw them in there. But you guys got those topics. We're not going to beat them to death. But let's keep going on with this because the other word is that, and I think we probably all, no matter who you are in Lions fandom, get this after watching the preseason. Holmes is working the phones and watching. They're doing their, different teams call it different stuff. We used to call it the grocery list. So we watch other teams, and say, hey, we're anticipating they're going to get rid of this person, that person, blah, 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 or whatever. So if we all watch the preseason, we get the Lions offensive line on the outside, the tackles. It's not that great. And my guess is you're going to see the Lions work the waiver wires, possibly a trade to look for a better backup offensive tackle. But the other thing is, it sounds like they're looking for another running back because nothing against Craig Reynolds. I actually thought he looked pretty good Friday. But
yeah, it did.
Who the Lions are, they think if they can upgrade that position, and let's be fair, Brad Holmes, he's going to leave no stone unturned. If they can get somebody better as the RB3, they're going to do that. Tone, you see the list up there, backup offensive tackle, running back, wide receiver. Here's another one I'll throw at you to get your thoughts. Riley Patterson, even though I love the kid, is he in trouble because he's accurate, but he's accurate from 45 in, 45 out, not so much.
This is a tough one because I was in the camp with you last year. I didn't know why they let him go last year, and he went to Jacksonville, and he might not be accurate from past 50 yards or 45, but I think he won them a playoff game last year, right?
He did.
So I mean, there's that. Like he doesn't, and it wasn't a chip shot. It wasn't like a 20-yard or a 30-yard or whatever. I think having someone, I think I'd rather, I don't know how to explain this the correct way, but I think I'd rather have someone almost 100% from 45 in than someone that can make one from 55, but he's like an 85% accuracy guy.
Right.
Because Holmes and Campbell have shown, well, more Campbell, I guess, game day situations. He is not afraid to go for it. And the trend in the NFL truly is not, we're always going to punt on fourth down no matter where we are.
Right.
A lot of teams have turned, the metrics prove that it's better to just go for it on fourth down, almost from anywhere on the field at this point, than it is to just punt it. I think the days of punting it on fourth down are they're not as popular as they once were. It used to be the coaches always had to be safe and punt on fourth down, no matter where you were on the field, no matter what the down, or not the down, but no matter what the yardage was. And I think Campbell proved last year that going at fourth down was worth the risk. And so if you have a field goal kicker that's almost automatic from inside 50 yards, who cares if he can make it from 55? Because we're probably going to go for it on most of those downs, unless we're like fourth down and 20 on the 50-yard line or something, or on the 45-yard line or whatever it is. We're probably going to go for it anyway. I think he's the better kicker. I mean, Romo came in and made made it a competition more than I thought. I thought when we traded for Patterson, that was it, period, and there was nothing else. I'm not real concerned with the field goal game because I just think if we're inside the opponent's 50-yard line, we're probably going for it on fourth down unless it's a stupid 4th and 20 or something like that.
The other rumor that came out this week, but I believe a couple other places picked up on it, is that Trey Lance, Brad Holmes made some calls on him. Brad Holmes actually made an offer to potentially get him, a 7th round pick. But, Tone, I don't see where he would come in here and do much because, either you're really just saying, hey, you can get this kid with a lot of potential for a very low cost. And obviously he's not coming here now. He's been traded to Dallas. But does this tell you Brad Holmes is willing to get anybody he believes improves the team, regardless of how you, as QB1, wide receiver 2, whoever, he doesn't care what you think. He's here to improve the team.
Yeah, I absolutely. That's the luxury of having a good team or a good base of your team. You can go out. You can throw all these feelers out for all different kinds of positions because all you're doing is trying to make the team better. You're not trying to build the team. You're trying to get those elite, maybe not even elite. You're trying to get those pieces that make that one play better, that one drive better, that one game better. The Lions right now are in a position they haven't been in a long time. And that means getting the pieces available to you that strengthen that core that you have. Every team has to have a core team that makes everything a little bit better as far as a little bit better chances of winning the game. So now he's trying to pull in these pieces that are going to add to that strength of the core that they already have built. And having that means they're going to win one more game. They're going to win the game they're not supposed to win. They're going to fight to the end of the games that they lose. So they're going to strive for that playoff position that they never had. They never had that before the last couple of years, like the building that they have built up till now. So adding pieces like a Trey Lance, obviously, if we would have got him, he would have been a backup. That whatever it is, I'm not impressed with him, but whatever. Going out and getting a Mike Evans, going out and getting a Chase Young. 2-3 years ago, none of those players would have agreed to a deal to come to Detroit because Detroit was a mess back then. Right. So having the option of signing players like that right now before the season starts shows you that they've built that core team that is, we're going to compete every single game this year, no matter what. So that draws teams or players to this team, even if it's trade related. A lot of those players can still say no. Not some of the younger guys. Like, I don't know if Chase Young has a no trade clause because he's still in his first deal, but they've built such a foundation with this team that it's a luxury. It's a luxury to say, hey, the Detroit Lions might sign Chase Young. It's a luxury to say, hey, the Detroit Lions are looking at getting Mike Evans, because 2 or 3 years ago, no one in the league would have been like, 2 or 3 years ago, that it would have been, hey, the Detroit Lions might sign wide receiver. I don't fucking know. He's not on the team anymore. Sorry.
But happens, man. So what I'll say, just real quick about Reynolds, just because I see a couple people put in the chat. I mean, everybody's going to have an opinion on this guy. It's just my worry with him is that he is the Rodrigo of the running back room. He's a great story. We all get, about his brother and him having to come up through stuff. Yeah. I like Rodrigo. I think he's a pretty good player. I just don't think he's that player to help get you over the top, and that's why I think Campbell was brought in, because they had a good linebacker core last year. Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't exceptional. It was NFL average. And I think that's kind of where they're leaning with Craig Reynolds. Is he's a great story. He's not going to hurt you, but he doesn't also help you a ton. Yeah. So if he's got great blocking, he's going to do some things. I would counter with that, though. What running back in the NFL doesn't do well with great blocking? So I think they're looking for somebody that can take that great blocking and do something more. And we'll see what shakes out. It's going to be hard to find somebody that's going to be a real dynamo at the RB3 who, another team is so loaded at running back that they're willing to get rid of.
The RB3 position is going to be tough to fill on cut day, we'll call it, because I don't know who's going to be released, right?
Right.
Like I said, you're the same way, or I feel the same way you do. Craig Reynolds is great in a limited capacity, and he did, like we said earlier, he did great in the third game of the third preseason game. But is he? Remember, I mean, a few years ago, our RB3 had like 50 receptions on the year. Like he was our third down back, not just our third running back, but he was our third down back. We don't really have a third down back right now. You know what I'm talking about, right? I forget his name.
Yeah, but I'm guessing Gibbs will be that for us. But
Yeah,
who knows?
Gibbs, but yeah, he's not. But he won't be limited to just the third down rule,
Right?
as that one was a few years ago. If anyone remembers his name, throw it up there. But we do need, we have to understand that Montgomery and Gibbs, one of them might get hurt before the season's over, right? They're running backs. Running backs get hurt a lot, or they get banged up every game. So we need to have a third down guy that's going to be able to step in and not take a lot of.
There you go, Theo Riddick.
A drop. Theo Riddick. Thanks. Oh, is that Micro Mike? Thanks, buddy.
I believe so.
But that was the thing, though, right? We had Reggie Bush and we had Joyke Bell.
Yep.
And then Theo Riddick was the third down guy. Right. We don't have that right now, even though Jahmyr Gibbs is all of those guys in one, really. But we don't have that third down guy that can come in and spell our top two guys to rest, like Theo Riddick did for us. So
real quick, everybody watching, I mean, you guys don't know the drill. If you like what you're seeing, go ahead and hit the thumbs up, subscribe, throw some comments at the comment section below. Just because this is going to be a little bit shorter broadcast today. It's been my kid's birthday all day, so I'm pretty spent. But
happy birthday, Alex.
Right.
So, and I've been at the Polish festival all day, so.
The Sarge is enjoying the Polish festival without question. At any rate,
I'm not Polish. My wife is.
Correct. So, the opening day game against Kansas City. If you're in the greater Kalamazoo area, you want to come on over. The Sarge and I, we did a test run the other night. We got all the kinks worked out by the end, so we should be good to go. We're going to be broadcasting the game from Main Street Pub in Kalamazoo on West Main Street. We'll have the pregame show about 20 minutes beforehand. We will have a halftime show and then a postgame show. If you're in attendance, they are going to do some surprise or prize giveaways, some interactive stuff for fans there. They're working on a few other factors, getting some of the local providers to contribute gifts for people in attendance. We will try to get as many people on air during commercial breaks, pregame, halftime, postgame that we can. But if you want some great food and a great place to hang out and watch a game, that's definitely one of the ones in the greater Kalamazoo area. So feel free to stop on by for the Kansas City Thursday night kickoff game. We will be there.
We'll make you famous.
Real quick, just so recap, if you're just joining in, obviously when we end the broadcast, you can rewind it. But we do want to just recover it just because we know we've got a packed house tonight. It sounds like the Lions have a real good shot at bringing either Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp. It's going to come down to basically who comes down to Brad Holmes' demands, what he's willing to give versus what the Bucs and the Rams are asking for. Chase Young, we reported this a couple weeks ago. So just real quick, Lions are offering some 2025 draft capital for him. Washington wants a lot higher picks than what Detroit's giving. And it sounds like most of us in the chat and people reviewing all pretty much agree about the same thing. That one doesn't make as much sense as the wide receiver spots because at least my take, Sarge, feel free to say what you want. But I think Detroit's biggest needs going into Kansas City are backup offensive line, depth at wide receiver or experience at wide receiver, and then potentially running back three just because Gibbs – he can run it, but I think he's going to spend just as much time out in the slot or wherever than he is in the backfield.
Yeah, I think a I think the offensive line, the backups, the number 2, second string, whatever you want to say, I think they played a lot better in the last game than they did the game before. There was leaps and bounds better play at the third preseason game than they did the second. I don't know. Like I said, I think the top 6 or 7 spots are already taken. We have our starters, and then we have at the 6th spot would be either Glasgow or Vitae, whoever doesn't become the starter for that spot. And we have Nelson. Nelson's been a rock for us for the last couple of years. I think he is that backup tackle for either left or right side. So there's 7 spots right there. I think, I don't know if I saw that. I don't know if I saw this for real or not, but I thought I saw Ifedi has already been released, but I'm not 100% sure. And I thought I saw Easy was released. So I don't even know, other than we still have the draft pick, Sorsdahl, which I don't think he's going to get cut.
He's actually done, I think, better and better each game this season.
Yeah. So I'm not as concerned with the offensive line, but I am concerned with what we're doing with the wide receivers. Granted, if no trade happens, right? Like if Kupp or Evans obviously doesn't show up, I think Chase Cota played himself out of the roster on last night, Friday night. No, 2 nights ago. Sorry. He dropped a pass in the end zone, and it was slightly behind him, but it hit him in the hands. Like he had both hands on that ball, and he also dropped a contested pass that he should have probably caught. Drummond had a great game. Antoine Green obviously had a great game. A lot of people think Drummond's going to make the team. I think Antoine Green is going to make the team because I think he showed enough. I think Drummond, because he's a smaller guy. I think if they keep, it depends on how many people they keep, right?
Right.
But I don't. And then obviously, if we do get Kupp or Evans, then that changes everything. But I think offensive line is a little bit the backups, though, right? It's nice that we're talking about the luxury of having what backups are we going to keep instead of who the hell is going to start for us. So the offensive line, I think Sorsdahl gets one of those slots, and then how many are we keeping? Are we going to have 9 offensive linemen? Because then there's really only question of who that number 9 guy is.
Probably 8, 9, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Obviously the starting 5, and then either Glasgow or Vitae would be 6. Nelson, I think, is definitely 7, just because he's been on the team and he's versatile. So we have 7, and then Sorsdahl would probably be 8, and then whoever 9 is, I don't even. Does it matter who the number 9 offensive lineman is? I guess that would be my question to the group.
I think what it centers around is the Lions want better depth at the offensive tackle.
That's true, because we do only have Nelson technically as the backup tackle.
Right.
Because Sorsdahl is more of an inside guy,
right? With it. But I think the interior stuff, I think we're fine there. I think we'll see what shakes out, but I think they're more concerned about the potential of if something were to happen where they had to move, say swell over or something like that. Man, do you want to rock Nelson out there at one of your tackles for an extended period of time? So. But anyways, guys, we won't keep you. We've been up for 40 minutes. The Sarge, he's with the wife and everybody trying to celebrate. He was kind enough to break away from the celebration to come on over for this. He said, I got to finish up dad duties with the birthday and stuff. So I want to wish you all a great rest of your weekend. I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you want to watch the replay, go ahead. It'll be available once it's done. Don't forget the season opening kickoff game. If you want to come watch the Sarge and I commentate and host the opening day game party at Main Street Pub, West Main and Kalamazoo, feel free. We'll go on there about 20-ish minutes before kickoff against Kansas City. We'll get people on there. We'll have something for halftime in between commercials and then the post-game show. So Need anything, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on Lions Talk Live.